We really do overcomplicate the simplest things in life. Talking to strangers is not that big of a deal. But when you have social anxiety, it feels like a huge deal. It feels like your life is on the line. And I know this because I struggled with this for years. For years, I didn't talk to anybody, let alone strangers. I didn't talk to people that I knew. Strangers, forget about it. But what I've realized over my years of growth through my social anxiety is that when you're socially anxious, you overestimate just how important you are in other people's lives. And when you realize that you're really not that important, suddenly talking to random strangers who you will never meet again does not seem that scary. But when we're stuck in this fear state, we believe that everything has mounting pressure, that everything will lead to some kind of catastrophic event. Or we simply are just so uncomfortable with that short-term feeling of having to interact with somebody that we just ignore it or we just avoid it, full stop. But I'm here to tell you, as someone who went from never talking to anyone ever to making it a point to talk to at least one person every single day, one new person, one random stranger, it can be done. And not only can it be done, it's not that hard. It really is not that hard. But when we're socially anxious, we make it into this big problem. We overanalyze it. Well, what do I say? How do I say it? How should I look? When should I say it? What if I'm disturbing the person? What if I'm annoying the person? What if they don't want to talk to me? What if I look weird that day? What if my hair is a mess? What if they don't like my outfit? It could be anything. It goes on and on and on. The first thing to remember is you're not that important. Okay. And I know you know that. Well, and in fact, that's part of your problem is you don't think you're that important, right? You have a low self-esteem. I realize this is not coming from ego, but this is coming from a place of thinking that your flaws are being broadcasted more than you think that they are. And yes, some people will notice the weird things about you, like the fact that I didn't really shave today, or whatever thing that you're worried about. Will some people notice? Of course. But how long will that really stick in their minds? Not very long. You know why? Because people have things to do. One of the things we forget about humans is that they don't have very good memories, including ourselves. We don't have very good memories. Do you remember the person who talked to you 2 weeks ago? No. Do you remember what you had for lunch yesterday? Maybe not. Maybe yesterday. Maybe not 2-3 days ago. Our memories are not that good. Other people's memories are not that good. Now, does that mean that that should be the end all be all? Now we shouldn't be worried? Of course not. You're still going to be worried. And look, I'm the first one to say you shouldn't use avoidance or justifying or rationalizing to try to overcome your anxiety. But in this case, when you're trying to challenge yourself to do something new, and you're trying to challenge yourself to do something that's very, very hard, very uncomfortable, sometimes we need a little wiggle room. We need to understand and believe that the consequences are not going to be that severe. And that's the truth. They're not going to be that severe. It's going to be a little uncomfortable. You're going to move on with your day. The other person's going to move on with your day. And eventually that person's going to forget. Now your worry is, but I won't forget. I will obsess about this thing. Yes, that's true. But we can work on that. I mean, we have control over what you do. We don't have control over what the other person does. We can work on not letting it fester, learning how to let go. And when you accept the fact that other people are not going to be ruminating about this, it's easier to let go because you're like, all right, well, it was just one stupid interaction. It's not that big of a deal. So how do you do this? The first thing you have to realize is that most people actually do want to talk to you. I know you don't believe that. Maybe you've had a lot of bad interactions in your life. But first of all, you have to realize that a lot of those bad interactions in your life, those are just the ones you remember, right? And because we're very sensitive to negative emotion, we remember the ones that don't go well. We don't remember neutral interactions. We don't remember positive interactions that well. We remember negative interactions because that tells our brain, hey, let's keep on guard for the next time. We don't want to screw that up again. We don't want to make a fool out of ourselves again. So we tend to remember the interactions where you went and tried to say hello to someone and they looked at you funny, or they brushed you off, or they told you to go F off, whatever the case may be. Will there be people who you go and try to talk to who will want nothing to do with you? Of course. But I promise you that is not the majority of people. And I know this from my own experience because, again, I do this all the time. I talk to probably at least 10 new people a week, and I can tell you that 8 or 9 of those people Give me positive interactions. If you come up to someone with a positive disposition and a smile on your face and you talk loud enough for them to hear you, they will give you a positive reaction. If you don't do any of those things, yes, that is going to decrease the possibility that they're going to hear you or understand you or react well. But there's only so much we can do. We can't control what other people are going to do, what other people are going to say. We can only be as positive as we can be. And all you really have to do, you walk up to someone, you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to talk to one person today. Well, what do I say? Just say hello. That's it. Just say hello. It really doesn't have to be that complicated. Your first step, if you're really struggling with this level of anxiety where it's hard for you to even talk to someone, just to say hello, because I've been there. Let's just start there. Walk up to someone, lock eyes for a second and a half and say, hey, how are you doing today? Hey, how are you doing today? Those are 5 words. Hey, how are you doing today? 6 words that you can utter. I'm sure you can utter those words. Now, you might be choked up. It might not come out very smooth. It might come out choppy. Your voice may crack. That's okay. You're going to go up and you're going to say, hey, how are you doing today? And you know what they're going to say? Good. Fine. That's it. They're not going to say, how dare you ask that? Who are you to ask that? What a weird question to ask. Why would you ask me that? That's so strange. I don't know you. I have never in my life, and I do this all the time now, I've never in my life had someone say anything other than good. Good, great, how are you? The worst is you might get a displeased look. Like, don't bother me. That's the worst you're going to get. That's the worst you're going to get. All you have to do is have a little enthusiasm, say, how are you doing? I promise you, you will get a positive reaction. It is almost impossible to, because even if the person doesn't really want to talk to you, they'll do it out of just social kindness, right? Just out of social politeness. They're just gonna automatically smile and say, I'm good, right? That's what you would do, right? If someone said it and they caught you off guard, you're just gonna go, yeah, I'm good. Now, is that like a mind-blowing interaction? But no, that's the whole point. See, part of your problem is you think that every social interaction has to be like mind-blowing. It has to be so interesting. It has to be so fascinating. What if I do something awkward? What if what I say isn't that cool? It's not that interesting. We're not trying to be cool. We're not trying to be interesting. We have to drop those expectations. And I know that's hard. We can get there eventually. But right now, we're just trying to say hello to people. So if you can do that, try that for the next week. Every day, you're going to talk to one person. You're just going to say, hi, hello, how are you doing? The most basic of basic things. And then I want you to count afterwards how many people actually gave you a bad reaction. And be mindful of the fact that your brain is going to twist that in your mind. It's going to look out for any possible thing that could be negative because it has that negativity bias that I've talked about many, many times. But try to be honest. How many people actually gave you a bad interaction? And you might think, well, what's the point of this? Well, why am I just saying, hey, how are you doing? Well, because that's the first step. That's the first step to you getting to something deeper. And it's getting you over that initial fear. Because I was stuck in that initial fear for a very long time. I could not talk to anyone. And so if you're in that place, I know what it's like. I know what that feeling is like. So when I say go and talk to someone, I don't even mean people in a grocery store. Because sometimes that's a little easier because it's sort of expected. It's almost more awkward if you don't say anything. I'm talking about go for a walk. Someone's walking past you and say, hi, how are you doing? Even if it's a big city. And I know sometimes in big cities, people are even grumpier. Let them be grumpy. When people are grumpy, we take it like it's our fault. How is it our fault? That person's having a bad day. Okay, most people, if you're polite, you say, hi, how are you doing? They're going to give you a positive response. Now, if you want to escalate it after that, if you want to know, like, well, how do I actually have a conversation with them? How do you actually have a conversation with someone, a total stranger? Even that is not that complicated. There's 2 main ways to do it. 1, express. Express something that's been on your mind lately. And I know what you're going to think. Well, that's totally random. Well, guess what? Most social situations, most spontaneous conversations are random. But that's our problem. We want to construct everything. We want to think about all the possibilities and map out the perfect conversation. That doesn't exist. Just express something that has been on your mind. So what does that look like? As you can see in the background here, or if you listen to the podcast, you can't see this, but I love baseball. Okay, I got David Wright on my left. I got Pete Alonso on my right. Or no, the reverse, whatever. I love baseball. I can talk about baseball forever. So that's often my go-to, especially if it's nice out or it's February right now, baseball season is coming. I will bring that up to anybody. I'll say, hey, how you feeling about the Mets? I live in New York, so it's not that hard. And some people will say, oh, yeah, I'm excited for the new team, blah, blah, blah. Or some people will say, not that interested. That's that. Those are the range of responses. You either get someone who's really excited or you get someone who's not that interested. It doesn't have to. It can be whatever you're interested in. You just throw it out there. You're ordering a deli sandwich at the deli, and you're just waiting, and you're anxious, and you don't know what to do, and the guy's standing there, and there's no one else online, and you feel like you could talk to this person. Just say something you've been doing lately. Hey, did you catch that show on HBO? I just started watching, blah, blah, blah. Now, is there a chance that they have no idea what you're talking about? Sure, of course. And they're going to say, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. That's the worst case scenario. Now, that's a little uncomfortable. But if that's the case, and they don't give you a window to talk further, if they really shut you down and they go, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Okay, well, once again, you've met a grumpy grumpster. So we're not interested in grumpy people. We're not interested in talking to these sorts of people. Okay, you're not going to have a conversation with that person anyway. Most likely what's going to happen is, oh, no, I haven't heard of it. What's it about? They're going to ask you because they're going to be curious and be like, oh, well, I like HBO. HBO generally has good shows. Or they're going to say, no, but I caught this. And then they're going to tell you about a show that they have been watching. That's all it takes. You literally just have to express something that you've been doing. The second way to start a conversation is ask an open-ended question. Now, this is sometimes a little harder because it seems more vague. It's like, well, how do I come up with an open-ended question? There's like a million questions I could ask. Fair. Focus on the person. Look at what the person is doing. Look at what they're wearing. Try to describe them in your mind, right? And ask a question that seems relevant to what they are doing or what they're presenting. Okay, so an easy one would be, let's say they're wearing a t-shirt and the t-shirt has a Marvel character on it. You can ask them about how they got into Marvel. Oh, you're into Marvel? Well, who's your favorite character? Who do you think would win? Spider-Man or blah, blah, blah. Right? Just, it's right there in front of you. They're giving it to you. If they're wearing a hat with a team on it, boom, right there. You can use whatever it is around you, right? If you're at a deli and you're ordering a sandwich, ask the guy who you're buying the sandwich from, well, what's your favorite sandwich? Well, what would you get if you were me? Okay? Open-ended questions based on the scenario, the situation around you. That's it. Is that a guarantee that every conversation is going to be so free-flowing and awesome and amazing? No, but again, that's not the point. We're not trying to have mind-blowing conversations. Most conversations, if you were to walk past them, if you were to be like a fly on the wall for most conversations, this is what people would be talking about. Just nonsense, just pointless stuff, okay? But this is what it means to connect with people. And this is what we have to try to practice doing. If you're not ready to do the secondary stuff, do the first stuff. Just go up and say hello to people. And I promise you 80% of people, again, we have mirror neurons, okay? Mirror neurons are neurons in your brain that literally mirror what the other person is doing. So if you come up to someone and you're smiling and you're positive and you say hello, automatically, just because of the way their brain operates, they're going to smile and be cheerful and they're going to say hello. Just without even thinking. They're going to be like, oh, hi. They can't help themselves. Are there going to be some people that won't do that? Sure, but again, we're not interested in those people. So this is what we're going to work on moving forward. We're going to try to talk to as many people as we can. If you get home and you start obsessing, you just remind yourself, hey, well, number one, I'm doing this to better myself. This is really hard stuff. It makes me feel really uncomfortable, but that's proof that I'm in the right direction. And two, nobody's going to remember this. It's not that important. It's just a pointless conversation that they will never remember. And honestly, after probably another month, you're not going to remember, especially if you keep having conversations, because then each conversation drowns out all the previous conversations, right? If you have one conversation on Monday and you feel kind of uncomfortable around it, but then you have like 6 more that you say hello to people and they're all fine or okay, you're gonna forget Monday. But when you do Monday and then you feel uncomfortable about it and then you never do it again, of course you're gonna obsess because that's the only thing in your mind. So I hope you found this episode helpful. I know it's really hard. I'm not trying to downplay this, but we do overestimate just how bad these things can get. They really can't get that bad. The worst thing is the person rolls their eyes, they shrug their shoulders, they're not interested. Then you move on with your life and they move on with theirs and you never see them again. Thanks again for tuning in. Please don't forget to subscribe, comment, leave a review. It really helps get the show out there, and I want this message to get to as many people as possible. But thanks again to the new subscribers. We've had a bunch of new subscribers recently, so I appreciate you guys checking in on my episodes and following the show, and I hope to continue to bring you valuable content. And again, you guys can submit to my email if you have any topics or questions that you would like me to answer in an episode. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.